of his.
Last week.
No,
Gee,
we didn't
who's
get it.
supposed to do that?
I did a full amount.
Well, I'm glad I made.
I think it was on, it was on the website though, I did see one.
Was it on the website? I was gonna say, the mayor, I sent it to Lynn and Lynn, they authorized her.
Yeah, it was on the
Send them
email.
out.
It was on the email.
I
I
didn't
didn't print it off. I
Shut it
usually
down.
don't.
Yeah.
There.
They can go away with it pretty well.
Yeah.
It's still
I'll pass them down, man.
Well, here's that.
Turn the TV on and just put it up there, big copy. And we
My
went.
copy's on. I'll send it better here.
Hey, where you go?
That's a blank one.
Thanks, sir.
That's all I wanted to give you, Doug.
Two-sided, don't say two-sided.
Don't give him
One
one.
side, I got one.
Tim, did you need, here's,
Tim needs one of Cletus needs one.
Cletus, I'll go run some off like Johnny right now.
Too
I
late.
apologize. I usually make
Lynn
10
usually-
copies and
You could have made it on both sides.
Pass one in our
Got
box.
Together.
nothing in your files. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, there's 5 in our box, we didn't want to get them out.
Well, I'll make the trip later if you want.
Could we share one like right there somewhere and I can give this one to Tim?
Hey, Tim, can you
I
hear
don't
me?
need one whole one. See ya.
Who's down there? I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay.
We got more. I need one back here.
Thank you.
Well,
Well,
A little late.
Which one's
we're
that?
good.
Which one's
you want
that?
to start it off?
This is,
Ken, whatever you want.
Okay, 5:32, meetings come to order. Chief Mason,
Mouse back here?
No, we're
Up
good.
here, when you get a chance.
Lieutenant Mason's still on here.
Oh, I can't remember to change my rank.
You refuse to accept the,
Took me a month to move into the office too. Everybody's asking me why. It's just not real important right now, guys. Everything's free.
Maybe we pay you.
That's the only thing I looked at was what they were, what's on the
I don't want to
paycheck.
get caught up in titles there.
Yeah,
okay.
it all pays the same. Anyway, May statistics you'll see in May our calls for service actually went down from the previous year. I think 2013 that was a pretty peak year across the board for everything, and it was more in line with the statistics that we have for 2012. Our calls are 1,306 with 120 offense reports, 51 arrests, 32 citations, or 32 accidents, and 62 citations. Our overtime usage was still up a bit because of some illness and injuries we had. It came down some. May was $19,021. Year to date, $62,369.05. On the alarms were down from last month. I didn't get last month's total in here, but I know they were more. They were less. With a total of 18, 1 residential, 17 commercial. We've completed the migration to the new mobile product in the cars, the mobile LE through Emergitech. All the cars are now using that for their NCIC access, and it seems to be working very well. They also, the new product gives them the CAD calls. They can see the calls as the dispatcher enters them on the screen in the car. They can get history to that, the address they're being sent. It's a very nice product. The guys have not complained about it, so therefore they must feel that it's at least adequate. With the new cars, we have one of our new chargers is complete. We have one that's almost complete, should be done by the end of this week. SUV has been delayed by parts back order. Apparently the Ford Interceptor SUV is very popular, and some of the parts are on back order. We talked to them today, and they feel like probably the end of the next week. Only waiting on one more part, and they feel like they'll get that and have it installed by the end of next week. So that would bring our 3 new cars online. Keith has all the information. We have 2 cars that I don't know if he's listed them yet, but they're for sale. 2006 Mercury Marquis in a 2010 Dodge Charger police type. I think the legislation passed last meeting on that, so they're ready for sale. And I have no legislative request. But the mayor did ask me if I would speak a little bit about the homicide investigation from a week or so ago. I guess the main thing is we got the guy. He's in jail. Was another domestic related homicide. A son who killed his father. At this point, the motive and what the precipitating event that caused it, we don't know. I'm sure at some point down the line, family members may, when we get through all of those, we'll have some type of idea of what type of relationship they had and what may have caused it. We had excellent cooperation with the Licking County Sheriff's Office. They actually made the arrest. We were phoning information back and forth to each other about the location of the suspect, and we were getting tips from the community at large, and also a lot from the family that he was having contact with and speaking to over cell phones. So the important thing is that no one additionally got injured, and we did get him into jail, and he is going to be officially charged. There's lots of statements to take. Lots of scientific data that will have to be gotten from the labs after we submitted all of our samples, but it's a pretty very solid case. Should see that come to a quick ending, hopefully. If there's any other questions about the case, I could.
As far as the actual investigation, everything, it's being handled by your office, even though he was apprehended in Utica.
The place where the crime takes place, that's primary jurisdiction. But as we were getting all this information, excuse me, from the family as to where his whereabouts were, and from the Utica Police Department, they actually found the car his father's car that he had stolen and left the scene. Now, we knew it was out of our jurisdiction. Of course, we had all of our resources here tied up answering calls and also trying to go to the crime scene. We called Ohio BCI&I to come in with their crime scene vans to have all their equipment and their crime scene techs to come and handle the crime scene, because eventually they were going to be getting all of the DNA evidence and all the submissions anyway from that crime scene. So it's better just to have them come in and handle everything, and then they'll take that. Their people will then, take it into the evidence and transport it to their labs and handle it. It won't be an extensive chain of custody that way. But they did a great job.
John, Chief Mason. Rumor had it that there was some communication issues because of the radio frequency changes and such. Is there any truth to that?
Oh, there was definitely problems with radio communication. However, our detectives, they rarely talk on the radio. Anyway, they were talking directly to the sheriff's office via cell phone most of the time. But yeah, we can't hear them and they can't hear us.
Okay, due to the Mark's frequencies and.
Well, the sheriff's office went to the Mark's frequencies, but they removed all of their VHF equipment out of the cars. They took the old radios out when they put the new radios in. If they had left those in, we could at least been talking to each other on the old VHF frequencies. But right now, as it stands, we can't hear their dispatch, and they can't hear our dispatch. We can't hear their radio traffic between the cars, and vice versa. I did talk with Lieutenant, I don't remember the lieutenant's last name, I'm sorry. Just this late last week, we did a radio test. We have Mark's mutual aid frequencies in there. When Mark's went online originally, they assigned every sheriff's office a frequency. whether or not they were gonna be on marks. They were just going to go out and give them a frequency so that they could, get onto the system more quickly when they were ready to, and also if they needed to make a meet with a state agency and add some 800 radios, they could at least do that. So we tested that frequency out this week. It's in our cars. It's not in our console radio yet. We're going to get it reprogrammed so we have it in our console radio. That way, at least our officers and our dispatchers, we can ask them to, if we get a phone call in, make a meet on that channel, and then we can all go to that channel and then talk to each other on the radio.
What frequency is that mark?
They don't identify those by numbers anymore. All I know is what's programmed in there by title. So we know what the title is, the exact
So you just
number frequency, I
click to
couldn't
that.
tell you.
You click to where it's marked.
Just flip it over in the car radio to that one.
But the old marks was 800, and isn't there talk in the future of going to 700 frequency?
Well, there is legislation that was created years ago, and I forget what the title of it was, but
Well,
part of it
we're
was the
from
narrow
years ago.
banding. Part of it was the narrow banding of the frequencies, but now the next step is, and whether they ever see it go to fruition or not, we don't know, because they've extended it, is that all law enforcement, they want all public safety to be on 700 and not on the 800 any longer. So preparing for that, at the police department, every 800 radio we have bought since that came out has been dual banded. So if they ever make us reassign us to a 700, we just flip a switch and go to 700, and that's pretty much what Marks is leaning towards, is making sure that all their radios they buy are dual banded. So if that ever does take place, they can switch over to the 700 spectrum and move on that way.
Do we need to upgrade, or is the sheriff's department behind it upgrading? Or we're on the same?
Sir, it's not a position where one is upgraded more than the other. It is, they are on a statewide owned system called Marks. It's an 800 frequency. We could put the Marks, their main frequencies, in our radios and talk to them and listen to them completely, but we would have to join the Marks network, and you'd have to pay a monthly fee for every radio that's yours, that's programmed to use that frequency.
So it's a matter of compatibility.
It's a matter of money.
But
What, $20 a radio?
And if you paid the money, then they'll let you get into it.
Yes,
If you don't pay it.
right.
Okay.
We're 800, we're
How many
fully
radios?
compatible with Ether 800 spectrum, but you can't program and use Marks frequencies without paying Marks a fee to write on their system. And it's a buy radio. So if you have 6 car radios and you have 40 handheld radios, that would be 46 radios you'd have to pay a usage fee for, and they're $50-some a month for radios. And
Jeez.
isn't 50-something a month was the last fee I heard. So it's not an inexpensive task. Newark Police Department, from what I hear, also is going to Marks. Their service directors, they've been doing lots of testing around, and they've actually made a purchase of radios now. So they're making the switch over to Marks, so they'll be on Marks as well as the sheriff's office.
Are we paying a fee for what we're using?
No, because we own the system. It's a city-owned system.
And, part of this has been the same way Newark Fire has gone to the Mark system. There's been several departments in the county, but we were assured it was a matter of flipping a switch and they could patch the 800 Mark system into the VHF frequencies that we're using, so we would have that dual capability.
Without
That really
paying
hasn't
for
been
it.
tested yet.
Without paying for it.
Without paying for it, yeah, in the event of, but I had checked with Chief Shepherd, our handheld 800s that we've got, There was discussion about converting them, programming them with the Marks templates in there, and Chief Shepherd advised me, he said, due to the cost, not a good idea, because as soon as we program those radios with that template, then we had to pay. And right now, there's some user fees that have been covered. County paid to put a Marks tower up, and so there's some credit going on right now, but eventually you're gonna have to pay the state to utilize their system.
Right, the county, I don't know what deal they worked out, but from what I understand, they have a period of time where there's no fees involved because they put forth the cost of that Marks antenna that's down there on East Main Street that they built. And then, of course, it's added on the state system, so all the state agencies, like the State Patrol, benefit from that one more tower on the system. They'll get better reception for their deals, so Mark's kind of put aside. And in the future, if it comes down to it, we could negotiate something in that same event if we had to with Mark's, because if, we have a system here that's already built. We could just add us to the system, maybe get some concessions, but I say at this point we wait, because there is a lot of talk. There are some of our legislators that are at work trying to get those user fees either drastically reduced or completely done away with. So in the future that might be the plan, but right now those Marks mutual aid frequencies don't cost to use or to speak on. So we can continue to use those until we come up with something better. There's going to be a lot of that going on. Once Newark Police Department switches over, it's going to be difficult for the little guys like the Heat and Granville and Hebron to, we're not going to know what they're doing. Or now we do. So when it comes to mutual aid, unless we're landing on one of those mutual aid channels, we have some. It's going to take some pre-planning to sit down with these other agencies, say, look, when this happens, we need to meet on this channel. This is our designated mutual aid channel, so we can all talk to each other.
Is the Mark system currently analog, or is it digital?
It's both. There's old and new. The oldest part of the system, I believe, is still analog. The new part is digital. So they're also in the process of expanding and upgrading. And so from what I understand, some parts of the state are analog, other parts are digital, and they don't talk because of that.
And I didn't know whether this new, the sheriff's department is on the new digital system.
They're on the newer part from what I understand, yeah.
And of course, they got a grant from state EMA to pay for all their equipment, or they wouldn't have been on. From what I was told by the sheriff's department.
Yeah,
They couldn't afford it, but they, $340,000 in monies from the state EMA, which is what they purchase their radios with.
They got significant grant fundings for that entire project. Software, mobiles, portables, base stations, the tower itself. They did remarkably well. But then they're a county agency that's responsible for a big geographic area and a lot of population. It's much easier to find monies if you serve a bigger service population than it is for smaller agencies like us, as you know, Chief Evans. So yeah, they did excellent as far as that goes. Hopefully they'll be just as hardworking if it comes to the point where some of these smaller agencies can't afford it to, help co-write and sponsor some grants to get them into the county system. Because some of those agencies, will never be able to afford converting to Marks and 800 radios because of the expense.
Is that part of the legislation you're talking about at the state level? Is the legislation including trying to streamline for some of these smaller communities, townships, other entities as well? So we've got one system?
They would, I think that when they thought they would get more participation in the Mark system from the beginning, from a lot of the smaller agencies. But when they came out with those user fees, people would balk at that. Plus, if you go to buy into the 700-800 spectrums with digital capabilities, those radios are much, much more expensive. Mark, what'd you pay for your Kenwood VHF?
$650, and to do this at Mark's was $3,500.
$3,500.
Per walkie.
Well, you know, back when Mr. Horton, we hired Mr. Horton, and I worked with him, they told us that once we got the 800 meg system, everybody in the state would have to get that. And so we went that route, and we paid pretty good money, you know, and it's put in the towers. And it sounds to me like they've changed directions again.
Well, at that time, there was legislation again that was threatening law enforcement and public safety at that time. There was a big move afoot, and there was legislation that was passed that all public safety agencies will be pushed onto the 800 spectrum. And they extended it, and they extended it, and they extended it. And, you know, everybody was claiming, you know, can't afford that. So eventually that was dropped, and they repealed that legislation, etc. And so now they're on the move again. They're on the move again to try and get public safety off of the UHF, VHF, high band, low band stuff that we're currently using, and pushing us to the 700-800 spectrum again.
You know, from my past knowledge in that, it sounds to me like somebody's making money off of a federal block of frequencies there, you know, which they shouldn't be able to. Because the feds furnishes the bands for all, you know, radio traffic.
Mhm.
And then the suppliers should build radios that will work on certain bands that you request, you know, that's limited to the county, state, or whatever. And it sounds to me like somebody's patching in there and making some bucks illegal.
Can you say
What it sounds to me.
What makes you think
Somebody
that?
say monopoly?
Well,
Rhymes with Motorola.
there is,
Shame, man.
there are many.
Well, like Motorola too, like, you know,
Well,
they probably got it locked in, and, you know, how many
Motorola-
radios they make.
There was a time.
is the largest that there is.
Yeah.
Honestly, they make a lot of money off of public safety because their equipment has been in vogue for a very long time. There are lots of other smaller companies such as E.F. Johnson that we used, and I guess there's one called Green that's about in the same position. They are offshoots. Both of those companies were started by executives at Motorola who left and
Yeah.
started up their own companies, used the same type of technology. So you would like to think that, but it's just that's the cost of doing business in the 700-800 digital world, is that it costs a whole lot more money than the old-fashioned simpler technologies.
Yeah, because what the first idea was, you know, you get in the 800 area, well, you would talk to me on this frequency, but when I answered you, I would be on a different frequency. Me and you could talk to each other, but if he had the same band, he couldn't tell what we was talking about. That's the way our first system was designed.
That's called a trunk frequency.
Yeah,
That's
trunking.
called a trunk system. We no longer have a trunk system.
They don't?
No, trunk system would have been another $800,000 on the bill that we paid the last time around to get trunked. Trunking is another step up in the 800 frequencies.
In the climb to the elite.
Okay, so 5-6 years ago, I thought we were ahead of the curve, proactive. We got our own Marks system, correct?
We got an 800 system.
We have an 800 system.
Which is not a
Would
mark
rebuild.
system.
No, we can talk to Marks. There's absolutely nothing wrong. We have a very modern system here at City Heath.
But it's not Marks, it's 800, which was what Chief Shepherd was.
No, it's not Marks. Marks is a state-owned system that you join. It is Marks capable.
Okay.
If you wanted to join
If we
Marks
wanted to
and
join,
pay the
pay
user
the
fees.
$50
When I first came,
And the program
radio.
council
Yeah.
was programming.
What would the programming be?
That's when we were discussing
We don't know.
Yeah.
$100 a radio,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
and went to the 800.
But it was
Because that's
easily
the world.
convertible, but we got a monopolistic fee structure going on here, it sounds like.
It is, it really is with Marks, and, you know, that's why there is, you know,
I guess my question is legislation that is being proposed, does it incorporate this monopolistic fee structure that is obviously taking place? Are they addressing that in Columbus, or?
that's what we hear, and that's what we see in some of the flyers and such we get. I couldn't tell you what names, but there is legislation that's being pushed forward, that's being sponsored. They're trying to, there's different bills. One is to go no fee at all to be on the Mark system, and the others is a drastically reduced fee from what they're paying now.
There, if I may, there are, first of all, to buy the equipment and such, there are federal FEMA grants, that's what paid for a lot of this, and the tower and such, for the equipment. And all Chief Flowers at the Department of Commerce, the State Fire Marshal, is working on a plan that will allow at least fire departments to write grants that will pick up the user fees for these walkie-talkies on a statewide level. So to answer your question, yeah, there is some legislation in the works that supposedly is gonna pick up some of this. And as John has said, rumor has it that they're working on something about eliminating these fees altogether. However, the state of Ohio has invested lots of money, and they in turn are trying to get as many users on board as they can because they're gonna pay for the system. And the user fees is what's paying for that system. So, you know as much about it as we do.
Well, then we have just a massive communication gap.
Well, it's going to get worse.
Yeah,
It's going to get worse when Newark joins in, because then the two largest law enforcement agencies in Lincoln County will be Marks. So, you know, and then the ones that, for example, the sheriff's office dispatches for a lot of smaller agencies. I think Pataskala PD is Marks now. So is the fire district.
Yeah,
Marks
West
as
Lincoln
well.
Fire is going Marks also, but they received some walkies and they're working on it. And yeah, you could write grants, and if you're fortunate enough to get them, you know how fortunate we have been not to get
I was gonna
the
say.
grants or whatever. You know, we write every year, but we've only gotten 2 out of them. About the
It's
last 12.
Like I said, they want to get to they get that money to the bigger service
Mhm.
age. You know, the small, you're serving 10,000, where the county's serving 150, 180,000, whatever our population is. They're more likely to get that money because they're going to reach more people by going with the bigger agencies. That's just the way it's been. But, you know, agencies like Buckeye Lake, Hebron, Union Township, all this way with us, you know, they're small, and, you know, they're going to be scrambling trying to find Marks radios so that they can be dispatched by the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, because they're all going to Marks. You know, their primary backup,
We're living in a mutual aid world here.
their primary backup.
From a
is the
fire
Sheriff's Office.
perspective and a police perspective. So it's not big fish, little fish situation. We're living in a giant mutual aid world. And to reward and to dissuade big fish, little fish seems
Well, when
counterproductive to the entire mutual aid process. That all of our safety forces in this county seem to function quite well at it, but if we can't communicate, where does that leave us?
Well, it leads us going with the big fish, apparently. At some point,
At
we
our,
have to
at
make-
our,
At our,
At our
at our
expense.
expense.
at our expense.
Right.
So the small fish, we can't get a grant because we're fiscally sound here. We gotta find the money somewhere.
Well, where we would have to go, you look at it that way, but one thing is, don't forget, we are leaps and bounds ahead of lot of the other agencies here, cause we already have a system where it's just programming and then of course paying the monthly fees. We don't have that big initial outlay where we're gonna have to buy radios for all our officers and radios for all our
Which is
cars.
6 or 7 years ago, we made that plunge and that financial investment to be proactive, not in a reactive mode, like it appears like we are or about to be.
Well, it sounds like they're following the same plan, but that's envelope, you know, it's 800 meg envelope.
Yeah.
But that's 800 frequency. And then they can go, what, they go 0.1, 0.2, they go up 10 million points in one band. And it sounds to me like that MARC system, they've isolated certain bands that they're not telling anybody and built their radios and handheld radios that will fit those frequencies, and if you want to get in, and it might take you 10 years to find out what the frequency is.
They
Not to mention
have,
you gotta pay to play. I mean,
they
And
have a
that's-
huge amount of frequencies and channels and whatnot built within the MARC system that they built.
See, our
And-
first system was analog, a lot
It is
of it.
pay to play.
And then they brought in this digital, and that's when, after I got out of working in that field, I don't know how, but that digital, it can break those 10,000 or a million in sub envelopes down even farther, you know. So I don't know how they control it, but they can probably do it. Sound to me like there's still some crooked dust going on there. I just have to feel
Well,
better.
the state built the system so it'd be statewide, so that state troopers in Cincinnati could talk to state troopers.
Well, you was with us when we went over there.
So it's, wherever they travel, they have total communications. All the state agencies are on there, not just state patrol, everybody in the state, all their frequency, all that stuff's on there, so. And, you know, their towers are everywhere. But they're on certain assigned frequencies, and you have to have what Mark referred to, their template programmed into your radio. And the only ones that are authorized to do that is the state of Ohio. If you join Marks, you have to send your radio to Marks, or they will have to send a programmer to you to do the programming. You can't just go to any old radio vendor and ask them to program it into your radio. They have to do that. So,
our 800 radios, they're convertible, they were sold as convertible to Marks.
oh yeah,
But we've gotta still pay for new radios? Or
No.
No, just
oh no,
pay,
no, no.
just
all we
pay
gotta do
to
is
get
pay the
them,
fee.
You'd have to pay to have them
have a
programmed.
program, which is $100, you say?
I don't know what the state charges, but I
$39.
assume there's a fee.
The last time we had programming done or
Yeah.
whatever, it was about $39 a walkie.
Okay, okay.
So,
See, the old
and
analogs,
then whatever
you
the
had to have
monthly
a-
user fees are, you'd have to pay.
mechanical piece you put in to get into it. But with this digital, it's gotta be programmed like a computer. Well, it's computer programmed.
So we got 50 radios times $40, we got $2,000 just in programming, right?
Yeah,
And then I got whatever fee we
that's
gotta
not
pay.
that's not counting your radio. Or is that counting all?
No,
He's got 50, how many you got?
no, we'd have a considerable number of, but, and I don't know if you can buy into, we bought licensing and have the cables and it's programmed on our laptop. I've got a guy in-house that can program this stuff. I don't know whether, Dave Skeen has the template on his laptop that allows him to program our walkie-talkies, our 800 walkie-talkies that we have, right?
There's one unit in the state of Ohio that's all programming for Marks.
Oh, mention that.
That's it.
Okay, well,
You
There's
can't,
the monopoly
we
right
couldn't pay
there.
Dave to do
Monopoly
it.
on top of monopoly.
Yeah.
It's pretty much self-contained, very controlling. You have no say in whatever they do. So,
That's part of that program that they started to keep these hackers out of it. And so that you, me and everybody else can't buy a scanner and listen to what you're doing. See, they don't, that's awful. I mean, you can get into this.
but there's other
Well,
things
you're
too,
right,
since
man.
the county negotiated successfully to get some sort of reduction, if we could you know, it's possible we can negotiate with Mark to get some sort of reduction, you know, to add our equipment that's on Blue Jay onto the Mark system and program the radios we have up there. And, you know, that way everybody's on Mark will benefit from one more tower in Lincoln County. So there may
I thought
be,
we were proactive, we're ahead of the curve, now we're behind the curve.
So see, we had to buy, we started doing that when after Desert Storm.
But it was convertible.
Because our military vehicles, which we worked with out here,
Relatively small fee.
everybody knew where they was gonna make the next move, and the old AM system wouldn't go around the curve, so we had to do away with that, to go into the early edition, so we could
He wasn't.
go over any kind of terrain, and also in the deserts where the heat waves screwed with the
We
radio.
have the best of both. We had a
Okay.
system that could convert if Marks was in
Anything else?
town.
Hey, he's
So we
got
had
it.
And it's for the police department and the fire department. Kind of a two-part question. One, how do you find out about the grants that are available? And two, who do you have somebody specific that writes grants, like for the fire department or police department?
Mark has one of his
One of my
guys
guys
that
writes
researches and writes grants.
I've written some myself too, but he has been the most successful.
And I've just had one officer step forward and said he'd be interested in writing grants, so he's gonna be going to the grant writing school to learn. And then when they go to school, they learn not only how to write them, how to research for them and find out what's out there. But there's, I mean, the state has a website, the feds have websites, there's all kind of places out there, and the more email lists that I get on from this organization to that organization, they will share the grant opportunities a lot via emails. And that's all.
Yeah, you can type in about anything you can imagine, grant-wise or whatever, and the internet is full of stuff, but the federal grants, as far as assistance to firefighters and all that, has certain time frames and calendar years and such, so. But, it's a long drawn-out process.
But we do written grants.
At one time, the city had a grant writer, off and on. But that was
Plan for it, purchase
a code.
You can't operate down
Before
the
they had
road.
website.
Well, that
Sounds like some of that to pay for themselves.
Gets paid for it. And a lot of grants also figure in the cost of a grant writer. Can actually be added to the grant, at least in recent years that has happened. But so we do it in-house.
Is that something you could utilize like a volunteer if somebody stepped up? Just a citizen that had some experience.
It can be anybody, as long as they're computer savvy and have a way with words. Because it
We have someone who just volunteered.
Somebody
Looking
can't, which is great, right?
for him to attend to learn.
No, I mean, you have to, it's gotta have crocodile tears
Oh,
on it.
yeah.
Oh, you want to be an English major or a German?
Not really.
Hey, you can do well.
But yeah, you have to show a need and specifics.
Okay. With nothing else to report, we'll adjourn the
Fire, or
John's a lot better grant writer than me because he's got a lot more bull than I do.
Oh.
Okay, we'll start,
Speaking of bull, you're up.
Yeah.
He's just gonna
I had
shake
to-
his head.
I had to ask about the radios because before I came, I had to clear a call because our new 911 center set off, dispatched a possible stroke and to our station too, and no tones, no nothing. And so
Huh.
I cleared it and told him the tones didn't go and nothing happened and didn't hear station two, so I called station two and they're like, we didn't hear the call. So they redispatched it. So there's still problems out at the 911 center. That has been, I think, a couple times today and over the weekend. You either hear them talking or you hear the tones and nothing.
okay.
There you go. So they're still working the bugs out.
Chief.
Good evening. Yes, sir.
610. Okay.
What are you doing? Tell me I.
Go.
May statistics, 39 fire runs to 121, you can see, versus last year at 170. So the fire calls are up. EMS calls 181. We had a very busy May. 107 transports, as you can see below that, but yet we're down for the year. If you're looking statistically, not only transports and such, but made up for it. 107 is about as high number of transports as we've had. And of course, we've had several structure fires. I'll talk about that later. County Fire is still unable to extract the number of mutual aids that we received. They're still having to write that so they can extract it out of the CAD system. But we had 25 mutual aids given, 10 fires. North got 8 of those. Monroe, there was a hazmat call. That was Monroe Township up in Johnstown. EMS wise, Dirk got 10, fire company, Licking Township Fire Company had 4, and we sent a medic over to Granville one time when they were tied up. No legislation, monthly wages, you can see, overtime still high. Questions on that? As far as, it is what it is right now. It is what it is.
Is it mostly due to people being out, or?
Well, you still had Spellman off for an extended period. I mean, that from early on, that has just been on the upswing. But normal right now, and with Jamie Jones, on the clock and all, and working overtime, things are better. But there for a while, as I said, Roger Baker was off for a considerable amount of time with his father in hospice and such. We had 2 or 3 people off there for a while, and that adds up on a daily basis. So, because we are at minimum manning, and anytime anybody is off for anything, it's overtime, except the old chief. They should pay him to stay away.
With a new knee.
With a new knee, yeah. When you tap dance on your new table.
As long as you step on one of those.
Equipment wise, tires for Tower 10, 2003. We looked at the tires the other day. I ended up having TCI come up and take a look. There was some concern, and I've got delamination of the treads on the drive tires, the front end tires. I mean, it's an 80,000 pound truck. Those are 2002 casings and such, and so it's just they're starting to delaminate. $8,200 to replace all the tires on that. I don't even have that amount of money. Yeah.
Ouch.
Yes, ouch is right. I'm gonna replace the 2 front drive tires and have the front end aligned on that truck. They could do that here locally, and then eventually gonna have to ask you guys for more money. I've got about $6,300 in my total. That was 30,000 plus, and we've had a lot of repairs this year. So, gonna have to talk about that later, but I'm gonna run those drive tires as long as we can and such. But, and that, of course, Fix-It account has paid for everything, including this EMS system, the EMS software, where we're paying double right now or whatever. That hopefully will be remedied very quickly. So anyway, questions? The mayor had asked me to research. I think right now, some of you may know more about this than I do, but we're kind of holding off on the EMS unit, and he wants to check into into replacing truck 7.
Where are they going?
Watson Road. Medic 2 is out right now on that first call, and so they're driving across the city to Watson Road on seizures.
What is truck seven?
Truck 7 is the pickup truck, the Chevy pickup, the 1-ton,
Chaser car?
the chaser vehicle, and it pulls the trailers. It's got the fuel tank in it for refueling vehicles. I mean, it serves as a multi-purpose. It is a 96. We bought it state bid, and so we're going to research. And we just put about $700 in the front end of it, and the mayor was concerned about with its age and things. Maybe we should take a look at replacing that truck. Gets a lot of use. It probably gets almost as much use as the medics. But he asked me to check into that and bring that up tonight. So
How many miles are on that?
I can't honestly give you. I didn't look, Jeff. It would have significant mileage on it, but I can't tell you right now. You want me to give you a call later and let you know?
Just curious.
So anyway, gonna take a look. We're researching that right now, but we'll see what state bid is, and of course, sometimes you can even do better than state bid. Try to buy local if we can. I already mentioned the equipment repair fund is getting low, and so I'm gonna work on that, but I may have legislation for you next time we meet. Training, we had a training session with the lifeguards up here. Our guys told them how they wanted things handled. We've got a lot of events this summer, EMS conferences and things that are going to be held in Columbus and all that, where our people are going to get some good training. And Warren, Roger Baker, and myself attended a 3-day foam class over at in Franklin Township, right there by the casino. We didn't take advantage of the casino. With the Marathon Co-op, which they have several bulk storage facilities over there, and they had just bought Franklin Township some pretty impressive 4,000 gallon a minute foam nozzles and things like that. We are on a mutual aid with them, with our foam trailer and such, and they in turn would come over here if we ever had an incident at our facility here at Heath. But they've got some new foam trailers with product on it, as well as foam firefighting attack equipment and such. And I'm gonna work on for some more foam and possibly upgrade some of our equipment and let Marathon pay for it. So I rubbed elbows with the important people and all, but it was some good training, and we got to see. It's always good when you can, see what other people have got. Our EMS software is, Warren told me today that it would probably be Monday and it should be online. There has just been a snafu getting this, and it's been on their end, not ours. They were supposedly supposed to send us this stuff, everything's cloud-based, and we've talked about that before, but their cloud wasn't working because we were not receiving it on our end, and then there was a lack of communication. But so anyway, we have got it programmed. Alpha Link was in today, and it's on board with our laptops. We're going to have to buy, and I've got money in my budget to do it, another Tough Book. Because the one old Tough Book that we were going to utilize has got the Windows XP, and I believe we were told that the XP is not HIPAA compliant.
But they're not providing updates anymore.
Right, but anyway, in order to protect pertinent information on that unit, we're going to have to upgrade to.
Tough book.
I'm sorry,
A new tough book.
a new Tough Book, yeah.
Okay. It's not
We'll
upgradable to Windows 7. You can't just upgrade the operating system.
According to Warren and Alpha Link, whatever we've got didn't have the capability we needed to do. So we'll get some pricing on that and go from there. And some of this stuff, I'm gonna drag my feet till the mayor gets back, because we have not had an opportunity to, with him being gone, so run this by him too. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Let's see, of course, the chief's back full-time status, yay. No restrictions, but I'm smart enough to know I'm not, it's gonna take a year for this leg to heal up, but I can take calls now. I'm working 8 hours a day, so.
You school or the SCBA?
The SCBA stuff, we were informed that today they were supposed to receive the shipment on those self-contained. So I look for those,
In the next week or so?
yeah. I mean, it just, hope so. We have received the federal monies that came in. Becky informed me on Friday that about $81,000 worth of federal money. That the entire grant was the 95.5, and so we've got POs written. The entire project was an $86,000 grant, and the federal government picked up $81,000 of that. So that's, and along with what we were saying earlier, that's kind of the way the through FEMA, if we were writing them for radios or whatever, would work the same way. And a lot of that stuff's got to be, the mark system is what, the P25 and all, and this stuff isn't anymore. And so writing grants for this kind of stuff, they just won't let you do. But, so anyway, hopefully the EMS software will be online by Monday. Hopefully, maybe by Monday we'll have our self-contained breathing apparatus. That I don't know, we're at the mercy. Question on the fire levy. I know I keep bugging you, and you know I'm going to continue to keep bugging you. You know I'm gone, but are we going to do something?
I think we should. That's fine. I think it's updated to where they should be, and bring them back up to where they should be, and maybe even
Are we going to bring them?
process
Are we
and
going to
maybe
both bring them up, or are we going to go after the
put
one?
something on the ballot to.
I'm gonna support a 5-year.
That's what I think. I think you know, should limit it to a levy that stops after 5 years. You know, it's levied for the 5 years, and then it'll go. That's how I feel.
I mean, but that's something from your perspective. I can keep harping on it or whatever, but what, August, I think?
We've got I think it's August 6th
I think that's the information I got from Mr.
Board of Elections. I think it's
Cottrell or
August
whatever.
6th that you have to have it.
Yeah. So that'll be here before you know it.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't believe how quick June's.
So I think we're gonna. I think it'll be something that'll be brought up.
So anyway, I'm throwing my.
Late June, early July, we probably ought to get moving on that.
Yes, sir. Weather warning, siren computer, Johnny.
It's installed
we
and
paid
operating.
for. Yeah. So anyway, it's got a new operating system. Did you use the existing Watchdog program?
Yes.
Okay, which we already had from the old system, so that's good. And to my knowledge, all the sirens are up and running. We had a couple of them that were bad, and one, I think I told you last time, one of them been twisted.
We'll have another
Self
test
around.
Wednesday. We'll see.
I'm sorry?
We'll have another test on Wednesday.
Okay.
We'll see if they're all
I was gonna say the county, the last two Wednesdays, due to the weather conditions, did not test
right.
anything, which when you're in this time of the year and the season or whatever, they need to be tested. We've had 5, not 6, I can confirm 5 for sure, mulch fires in the median, which is funny. We haven't had those before, but they just recently mulched and landscaped, and people are flipping their cigarettes and all, and setting the mulch on fire, which, gosh, who would have figured? But Bobby Geller said that they're getting ready to put drip tube as soon as they fix the backflows or whatever, and hopefully some of that moisture
See
in
that
there
one,
may.
that one, median, they've got flowers all over it, and that, the farthest one north. Looks pretty good, it's nice.
So anyway, I just think it's funny.
Like, you can
That's just
see
the
it,
things you
got
never,
Some tubes
you
in
know,
there, water or something, you can see it.
That's what they're putting in, they're gonna put watering tubes in so that it will be more moist. Won't be so
Yeah.
dry.
Somebody called the cell on petunias, that's all.
let's see, did I mention that,
Structure fires.
Tom Gonder on Friday night broke a hip. So he had surgery today. I heard from his daughter a couple hours ago that he got through surgery okay and all that. So keep him in your prayers, good man.
Well, on the job or off?
He's of course retired now and fell at home.
Okay.
He didn't take his,
He was out of the nursing home games.
yes, yeah, he was home and didn't take his walker with him and went to the bedroom and tripped and fell and broke a hip. So he had to have surgery. And last but not least, structure fires. Gosh, I think had we had the Irving Wick house fire since last we met? I think that was all. We had Irving Wick up the hill, structure fire garage. Then we had over on the corner of Cynthia and Louise. Of course, in the paper. Then Saturday, a week ago Saturday, had the apartment fire over on Andover, all of which were working fires. We don't see that many in the city, but woulda, coulda, shoulda, but the system worked and they got quick knockdowns and contained all the fires. And of course, I know the mayor always questions, gosh, I think there was probably 5 different fire departments. And he wonders why we run so much equipment sometimes, but the way the run cards are supposed to be set up when they dispatch it that way. They haven't been following those very close either. But, you know, usually it's Heath equipment and one mutual aid truck. They get on the scene and it's, they request additional equipment, but if they mark it a working fire, then that escalates on the run card. They get additional engines and a ladder and a medic and things like that, but it gives you the extra manpower that you need. And of course, the mayor was, why? And it's just a house, and if everybody's out of it, well, you know, they're still.
You don't want to be known as basement saver.
Well,
You want to be house
not
saver.
only that, but
Huh?
you wouldn't want me to let your house burn with all over the personal property that you have in it. You are unique because of where you live, but most people have got structures on both sides. You know, there's just a lot of reasons besides, you know, we save lives and property, and that's sometimes. So anyway, it's better to have a little too much. You can always send it back than play catch up, and that's the reason we do what we do sometimes. Questions, comments? That's all I have.
Mark, I think our dispatchers are still making call records whenever you're dispatched. You tried to retrieve any of that info for us to see as
No.
far as mutual aid stuff?
To be honest with you, I didn't know they were.
I'm pretty sure they are, I'll double check.
So
Okay.
that, you can get that information.
Yeah, that would be great.
I know they mark all of, whenever you're dispatched, they mark all of our units that are on the road to tell us that you've been dispatched.
I do know that, of course, that this being the secondary PSAP, any 911 calls on landlines in the city of Heath go through our dispatch center. Here, they get the call and take the 911 call, and then, so that's where they get the information to send to the officers, and then they forward that to the 911 center, who
So-
then dispatches us. But
So I'm pretty
any
sure if
stuff-
that comes in that way, then we do have a call record made whenever they get a 911 call. Because it's automatic, it starts it. All I have to do is answer the phone that makes the entry. So,
But just say the mutual aids.
I'll do some checking.
Mutual aids given, though, wouldn't be tracked, may not be tracked because of people coming in, they're not. So anyway,
I'll check for you.
please. Any questions? That's all I have.
Nothing else to report?
Sure enough, 6:29.
Question?